face destroyed.
Get over here!
Great power comes great responsibility.
To enthuse about a specific topic, not realizing that most people listening will fail to understand it. That's a geek out. This is the show, the Geek Out Show.
Yo, what's going on, guys? This is your host, Gil, Black Hole Comics. Let me lower myself so now you can see me under the banner. Your main host. And I'm here with my co-host tonight. We got Christian.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? How y'all doing tonight?
Keith.
Good evening, guys.
Hey, and then a special guest. We got Rob on from Savage Crucible.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
Thank you so much, sir, for coming on. We appreciate you giving us some of your time.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. So
interesting questions, I hear.
Yes. So I know that you have been facing a bunch of questions this week, and I know that you have been kind of making the rounds. So shout out to, everybody out there, the dork layers out there, the, just anybody and everybody. Like we've kind of all we're friends with them, affiliated with them, done shows with them, rubbed the elbows with them. You're doing the toy podcast circuit, so to speak, right?
Very much so.
Probably answered the same question already 20 times now at this point. So hopefully we could bring you something a little bit different here. I like to pride myself in, it's called the Geeky background check. It's something different, very different. It's actually a gauntlet of questions. And if you don't pass, actually, we're going to have to kick you off. So,
awesome.
So hopefully you pass. Then they can hear about your Kickstarter. A little small Kickstarter that you may have heard of. Yeah, right. Everybody's heard about it as of right now. So just real quick, congratulations with being fully funded for wave 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, man.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. So to start us off with the geeky background check, I just want to know, where did the geekdom, the geekiness, the nerd, the inner geek come from? Was it something that you were born into as a little kid, or is it something that you recently discovered?
No, it's certainly really early on, from early childhood. I can remember my first toys in Germany being G.I. Joes and Motu figures. So, and then getting really upset when the Voltron cartoon went off TV, because it was really hard to get some English channels in Germany, because we were on an installation, so there were only a couple of channels to begin with. And I'm sure some of you are old enough if you didn't have cable, and you certainly didn't have cable there, you only had a couple of channels even to begin with. So,
yep.
That wonderful 2 to 3 hour window to watch cartoons was pretty limiting overseas.
All right, so that's where it all started. So then the next few questions actually have to correlate with the main subjects that we cover here on our podcast, which are comics, toys, anime, video games, TV and movies. You don't have to necessarily be an expert in each one. However, we just like to hear what type of experience and your love for each one. So let's start off with comics. What was your first introduction to comics? And if you remember, like, your first issue and stuff like that. For most of us, it was just like a random X-Men or Spider-Man or something like that,
I don't know if I remember my first issue. I was a Marvel guy, so I was going to flea markets and buying boxes at a time. Back then, you could drop $20 and get a whole box of comic books at a flea market.
You could.
So I can remember having the entire run of Sensational She-Hulk. I actually hate myself that I sold that. But yeah, no, I can go all the way back to collecting Cable's introduction in Uncanny X-Men 201, which was actually Baby Nathan. And then so 267 was the introduction of Gambit. I remember that one, had that one. 265, 269 are very important when you get into the that whole Jim Lee era. So yeah, I'm a pretty hardcore comic book geek. I collected comic books all the way up until college. So I read a little bit in DC and a little bit independent. So, but mostly it was Marvel for the most part. So that's comic books for you.
Not a bad thing. Shout out to Matt. Matt's in the chat here real quick, guys. So shout out to Major Reaction. And Rob, I think you spoke to him last week with
Lost Cause.
Yeah, there we go.
Lost Cause, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great group of guys. That was pretty fun.
So I cock blocked Matt, and I was like, bro, if you already talked to Rob, you can't just hog them all to your fucking self. You're not gonna come out here and talk to him again. Get out of here. I was like, no, because then he's gonna like you more than me. So fuck that, you know. Can't have that going on. Marvel for sure. Timmy says yes, absolutely. I love Marvel. Well, I mean, you kind of answered the toys, but you know, what was your first action figure or toy? Or collectible?
It had to either be a Star Wars, a G.I. Joe, or a Motu. I can't remember which one. I mean, I played with all three of them at the same time, so they're all about the same time. I didn't get to see Transformers or He-Man as cartoons until I came back to the States. I do remember seeing Return of the Jedi when I was in Germany in the theaters. So I can't remember exactly the first toy, but it had to be between Motu and Star Wars and a G.I. Joe, probably. Yeah, they're all about the same time. So that puts me about age 4 and 82. So yeah, I probably got all three. Not to brag as a kid, but you know.
So, hold on.
Matt, I have more questions. This dude always has something to say.
So, Rob, would you say that would you say is Return of the Jedi your Star Wars, or are you gonna say like the first New Hope or Empire? Which one?
Oh, well, I mean, when I was a kid, the Ewoks didn't bother me. As an adult, they're kind of too cutesy, right? But
Timothy says Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Return of the Jedi was the only one that I got to actually see in the theaters. I mean, I was born in '78, so I didn't even get to see the last open in the theaters. But just growing up on the first trilogy was fantastic in itself. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously Empire is known as the best of all of them in terms of the story arc, but exactly. So, you know, it's I won't say that Return of the Jedi is my movie, but it was certainly the one I got to see. So that's a special moment because there's so many of us that didn't get to see any of them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so that's a big deal for me anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
To keep it moving, anime. So it doesn't have to be traditional and traditional Japanese animation, but American animation as well. What was your first introduction into animation? And are you still a fan today?
Yeah, so I think Evangelion was the biggest thing I remember watching in college. Okay. So that was pretty epic. I mean, I would rent movies prior to that during the 90s. I mean,
at the drive-in, hell yeah.
Yeah, so you could get some. I mean, I'm just trying to think like what was the earliest anime I was probably seeing. I was actually probably a kid when I was seeing it in Germany because sometimes there's a lot of crossover that you didn't realize that was happening over there that wasn't happening in the United States. So, like Ultraman, things like that. So that seemed to be a little bit bigger in Europe than it was over here in the States. But yeah, I think Evangelion was probably the biggest one that I can remember off the top of my head. But that was college before I really started watching that. There was a couple of Ninja Scroll was out. That was a long anime movie. That's sort of off top of my head. I mean, yeah, you know, I watch like Castlevania on Netflix now and things like that. It comes out, yeah. But you know, it's here or there on the hits. But I'm not like a big Sailor Moon fan or anything like that. Nothing against them, but that's just not my cup of tea.
Matt said that he's going to crash the stream when he puts away his groceries and mix up a cocktail.
Now,
Go ahead, Heath.
This is a little weird one because you were talking about watching Voltron earlier. I always felt like that the original Voltron series had like an anime feel to it, just between the art style and obviously the whole concept of it. I don't know, but that's where my mind always runs off to with that original Voltron series.
Well, yeah, because I mean it was called Go Lion.
It was Go Lion. Yeah, it was. I mean, that's just it. I mean, but you know, you talk about anime, but go before that, you had the live action stuff, which was really big, like the Ultraman and things like that you were watching.
Oh yeah,
the same age. So that late 70s, early 80s was a great mix of the live action going into anime and things like that. So
yeah,
yep.
Timothy is saying Akira. Man, I barely watched Akira for the first time ever, like last year.
Oh wow.
I know it's a travesty. I know I have a geeky podcast, but I was born in the '90s, so that was before my time. Sorry, but it's fucking kick ass. I'll tell you that. Any Spectre Man fans? I've never heard of Spectre Man. I'm sorry, Timothy. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
Knowing Timothy is probably raging on you right now for not knowing.
Let's go ahead and shift gears into some video games. Are you a fan of video games? And if so, what was your first console?
Oh, first console was the Atari. I mean, going back playing Empire
The
Strikes
GOG.
Back on the Atari was awesome. I hated playing Indiana Jones. I think it was the first one, but I always died of that one to some invisible thing, and it was just so frustrating as a kid because I didn't know what was going on. Nintendo, obviously, Ninja Gaiden was awesome. I mean, there's so many games on Nintendo that are just badass. I mean, you go on. That's an entire show of badasses. But as a quasi-adult, when I got to college, I found Diablo, and so I've been a big Diablo fan for years and years. I love RTS games, so I've played StarCraft 2, Warcraft 2 and 3. So that's my bread and butter. I play more PC games than console games, to be honest.
Hey, it's all good. My brothers do as well. I'm straight up a PS5 guy, pretty much, but my brother's only PC. I'm just like, whatever. Okay, you're a fucking elitist. I get it. So to move from video games, TV, and movies. I mean, you kind of answered it, though. I mean, with the movies, especially, talking about Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, and stuff like that. But what about, like, a TV? Like, what was your, fond memories or early memories of watching, like, a TV series that was very interesting to you?
I guess I'll say this. I've never seen Titanic. I think I'm the only human on the planet that can say that. That feels that way anyway. I've never seen it to this day.
There's somebody that would be unhappy with you, James Cameron, right?
Well, that's true. I don't think Pacific Rim gets enough love.
I'll agree with you there. Absolutely.
Yes. So I'm just trying to think here recently. I mean, one of the guys on the team, Matt O'Toole, who does a lot of the concept art, he designed some of the coins for us. He actually worked on The Hobbit. Actually, I think he worked on Pacific Rim too. So he's a practical effects guy. So someone that has worked, I think he's worked in the movies for 25 years now. And most of the movies that we all love, he actually worked on, from big budget to like low budget. Like he worked on Dog Soldiers. So yeah.
Oh, shit.
So awesome. If you want to talk about something that can make a werewolf, there you go. Right.
All right. Well, I would say that you're passing with flying colors, man. What do you guys think, Christian?
Oh yeah, definitely.
No, I didn't cut it. Of course, obviously.
Oh, shit. So, I mean, I still haven't made them yet, guys. Don't give me shit about them, but I am eventually going to develop actually like a membership card that has our logo on it that says like you're a part of the club, you passed the geeky background check. So eventually they'll be coming, and then I'll send you one. Rob cried.
We can put it on our booth at conventions, guys. Yeah, he got show approved, member only. Awesome.
Timothy said,
hey, real fast, Timothy, I cried during that movie as well. It's amazing.
I love that movie. That was like one of my favorite movies when I was younger. My cat's trying to come over here and say hi. Excited to see a bigger figure within the Savage line. Okay, Matt. Okay, I see you over there. I know, hella jumping ahead, but I mean that's pretty much what we're gonna get into. The meat and potatoes, pretty much what everyone's here for. The Savage Crucible line, the Kickstarter here. I got their Kickstarter up, and as I mentioned before, they hit their goal, the 120,000. Can you stop? My cat is gonna end up jumping on top of my ring light and taking everything down. I swear, this guy. Sorry about that, guys.
Solid.
He's got it saying
The cat knows that Matt's not on, so his random raccoon's not running through here, so you just gotta jump in.
Oh, you got a Maine Mancoon? Do you really? I've heard like great things about those cats.
Oh, no.
I think that's what
one
Matt
of
has.
Yeah, Matt has some sort of giant cat that, like, every time like we've podcasted and I've seen that thing run through, I'm like, "Hey, you have a wild animal in your house?" And he's like, "No, that's just my fat cat." But like, actually, I do have a Maine Coon, and they are very dog-like cats. They're really weird, but they're also adorable.
No, I mean I've been interested in them for a while. I mean, I'm a big dog person. I breed Great Danes, so and
Yep.
show them as well. And so I'm more of a dog person. I still like cats. Don't get me wrong, but I just wondered how a Mancoon would interact with a Great Dane on a daily basis. That should be pretty good, actually.
So I actually have a standard poodle and an English lab,
Okay.
and that Maine Coon, when it's cold, is in between those two dogs. I mean, the dogs themselves are about 8 years apart in age. So my lab is obviously my bird dog, and the poodle may at one point in time come in, but it's more of just a house dog. But that Maine Coon just lays up in between them.
I got you.
They interact really well together.
All right, you guys talking about yes, Matt, we're talking about your raccoon again. Yes, sir, we are. So I wanted to go ahead and give the floor to my co-host since I've been talking a lot. Keith, do you have any questions for Rob?
Absolutely. So obviously, I've heard you joke before in the past about, like, instead of looking at horse mounts, you've talked about doing Great Dane mounts. Is that something that you're serious about? And if so, like, are we going to be sticking to Great Danes, or are there other like dog breeds that you would want to incorporate into mounts?
All right, so
This is awesome.
I actually had never said that we were going to make a Great Dane mount. So where that comes from is in the concept art, there is a saddle on the Great Dane. And what I would caution you to think about is we would probably, well, we will actually, we've already sculpted the Great Dane. So it's in scale with the figures in terms of what we would expect a normal Great Dane to be, at least a well-bred one. And the saddle is there for a reason, but you're thinking the wrong size. You're going big when you should be thinking something smaller riding the Great Dane.
So an actual 1/12 scale.
Yep.
So something else could ride it. Something
I got you. I like it.
Yep. So no one's guessed it yet about what could ride it. So it's kind of interesting. It's a fun tease. And yeah, I don't.
Is it a mythological creature?
Oh, is it not a goblin?
I mean, I'm not saying a goblin couldn't ride one, but
okay. I mean, in my mind, so like I've been slowly working on some stuff, and in my mind, and something I've been working on, one of my goblin characters rides a hog.
Nice. That's pretty awesome, actually. I love that. Yeah, that's a great idea. So yeah, we do. I mean, we do want to do certain mounts, but we realize that there's a lot out there, and mounts take up a lot of space. So, you want to be mindful of how you go about it. And look, mounts are expensive, and you do have to get your money back out of your tooling, and that's fair. And but at the same time, you have to be mindful of people's shelf space and how much room it takes up and how unique it is. Because, like, for instance, just making another horse, well, there's a decent amount of horses out there now. There's at least like 4 that I can think off the top of my head that are out there. So if you're going to make a horse, it needs to be really specific to something that you think you can generate the funds to come up for the tooling and just leave it alone, or it has to be something really unique. And that's just how we're kind of approaching it. Not saying we won't do horses, but if we were going to do a horse, it'd probably be something like, if we were going to do a deaf dealer, we'd probably do a deaf dealer with a horse. That would be an example of where we feel like we would differentiate ourselves there.
That would be awesome.
That definitely work.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody else is offering anything like that. So
no, deaf dealer's never been offered with a horse, an articulated horse anyway.
No, not at all. Quick question. So you said the whole entire Great Danes thing. I don't know, because I mean you kind of asked it, Heath, but is there any possible other breeds, such as like a Mastiff type of thing? Or is it just the Danes?
No, we wouldn't limit it to any one dog. You could have Attack Aussies and Killer Kevins, which are like Samoyeds. And So there's all kinds of dog breeds that you could go out. Obviously, you might want to skip German Shepherds out the gate just because they'll seem to get done pretty decently. Nothing against German Shepherds, but no, there's certainly you could. And I've explored. I mean, anytime you get into animals or just like mounts, you have to be thinking about how you can reuse the tooling. Exactly. And sometimes people limit themselves to only thinking about how they can reuse the tooling within a brand. And I've come up with a way to use that at least dog tooling outside of the brand. So the Great Dane will be the first place that we test that concept. You guys won't really be privy to it, I guess, in a sense that you're not really tied into it, but it's just one of those things where it's a concept that I'm working on that I think is going to allow us to bring in things like that and still get our money back on the tooling without overdoing it in the line. Because no one wants to see a Great Dane every wave or every other wave. Like there's how many Great Danes do you really need as a toy collector? I think having one would be fun, two maybe. So that's about the extent I think that you could use that tooling personally. So
I don't know if anyone suggested it, but I'm pretty sure like people would go for like a 2-pack of like interchangeable appendages, like with like armors and stuff like that. I'm sure like certain people like Matt likes to army build things. Like me, for instance, like I love animal creatures. I love kaijus. I love monsters. So like I have a shelf dedicated to stuff. So I'm a sucker for that stuff, and I'm over here like sign me up.
Well, you can look at the concept art, and the first thing we looked at was like the Cerebus and his brother, the other dog, and so those are examples where you can reuse part of the tooling and maximize it to create something multiple times that'll appeal to different people, and maybe some of the other breeds will open that possibility up as well. But are we going to get to do all? Good Lord, how many breeds are there?
So there's so many, man.
Yeah, I mean they're in the hundreds. I should know this, but it's no, we're not going to do all of them.
If I could just make one suggestion, I mean, getting a cane corso, that would be amazing. That's like my first ask. If you were taking suggestions.
Well, the bigger dogs actually are easier to do in a sense. If you think about it, the joints are easier to do. You create other creatures out of them. A little bit easier. When you get smaller, the articulation goes down, and not a bad thing, but you start to run the risk of something being too cute. And there's nothing wrong with cute
112
or anything like that, but it's Savage Crucible for a reason. So, will we have woodland creatures? Sure, but I mean they're going to get slaughtered, so it's your call.
Yeah, 112 Chihuahua. That's also going to be like that big, But with like monster teeth type of thing, it's been mutated. Just to go over
Isn't
a
that
couple
just how
of
they look?
here. Yeah, that is true. So wave 1 focuses on the saurines, the lizardmen. We got Nin. Just correct me if I'm wrong with the pronunciation because I suck at this type of stuff. Villamere, is that how it's pronounced? Okay.
Yep.
Coming in at $38.
We didn't try to trick anybody on the pronunciation. We didn't.
No. Just gotta say, like, as far as what you're offering here, it's awesome. It's pretty kick-ass. Love the coloring. Love the color combos. I like purple. I like gray. I like orange. So all those colors together, pretty fucking awesome, man.
Sweet.
Como of the Isles, again, really awesome. I love how you do the grayscale, like the prototype renderings, and then like the colored renderings. It's pretty awesome because it really emphasizes like the sculpt.
Yeah, and if I could just interject for a second, the thing that people don't realize is when I look at the color renders, and the reason why I put them in there is because you're literally coloring over black. It's a 2-dimensional item. So if you put too much color, you don't see any of the sculpt.
Yeah.
And then based on your color monitor and then just it being a 2-dimensional object, how we color it, it's very hard to understand how the colors are going to interact in a 3-dimensional space with different lighting. So it's just kind of interesting the comments you get on it, because some people see the gray and they're like, oh, does it come in gray or does it come in color? And some things that you think that would be natural or I don't know. I guess some people are just so hesitant or they've been burned so many times by people that. So that's why we try to put the painted prototypes up there so people could see what our intent is on the paint scheme and that kind of nature. But yeah, that's why we did it.
Yep. I gotta say, like I don't know if this is what you're going for, but it almost looks like the weapons are energized or has some type of like effect too, like with the orange and the purples and everything like that. I really do love like it's giving off like an aura. I don't know if that's what you guys are going for, if that's just me making that stuff up in my head.
No. If you read the comic, the graphic novel, and you can download it on the website, or you can order a hard copy through the Kickstarter. But there is certain people within Savage Crucible do have abilities that you're describing. So yes,
I obviously have not read it, so at least I'm open and honest about it. I'm not going to pretend because I'm a sucker for physical media. When I tend to like go on my phone, I get distracted a lot. So I did actually add that to my order, the physical copy. So I can't wait to read that.
sweet.
Royal Guard here. Again, same thing. You know, got black instead of the gray, but the purple, the gold. I'm a sucker for that type of color combos. Looks good. Have you guys added any of these to your? Well, first of all, I'm assuming Christian and Heath. I haven't talked to you guys about this, but have you guys backed? And then what is your order looking like as far as like the Lemurians, the Lizardmen? Which ones have you guys added?
So I'm gonna be honest with you, Rob. Wave 1 is probably my least anticipated from this. I think you've got some wonderful designs here, but they're not really speaking to me. Wave 2, several of the characters I'm really enjoying, and I've got those, but I'm pretty much all in on Wave 3. I don't know what it is, but just the Piranha people are speaking to me. I love the designs. I love the weapons. I believe it's the is it the Scout that has the sword that's very reminiscent of Merman? I love that one.
Scout? I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, in my head, they're all known by different names.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But I think I just have the Savage from Wave 1, to be honest with you.
Nice. No, I get it. And one of the things is you're not alone in that. For every person that doesn't like Wave 1 but really loves Wave 3, you can flip it. There are people that really love Wave 1, and there's people that really love or hate Wave 2 because they're humans. So you're not alone in that at all. It's very interesting, the feedback that we do get on things like that. So I would say overall, most people are just thrilled and getting everything, but there are certainly people that are like one way speaks to them and another way doesn't.
Yeah.
So
one thing that I'm just absolutely just floored by, and something that I think that you guys aren't getting enough praise for across this whole design spectrum, is your guys' use of colors. It seems like, and I'm not pointing fingers in, the big dogs, but it's silver, it's black, it's red. You guys are, it's orange, it's purple, it's
Turquoise.
multi-tones, turquoise. I mean, you guys have really, and I think it works so well for, the Royal Guard. I've always, put purple as a royal color, so why wouldn't they be wearing purple?
It is a royal. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, when you look at your color schemes, I think that is just something that is just so eye-catching and just so nice to see.
Well, thank you very much. We have 4 different painters working on the project, so that helps a lot. And some people don't quite grasp some of the concepts. So when you take it like the Royal Guard, like the armor is gold and purple, what you think of royal, and that's the part that actually makes him a Royal Guard. So theoretically they wouldn't change the color of the armor because of the color of the lizard skin, right? Hypothetically speaking, in a world. So just interesting concepts like that I don't think everybody's thought through, nor should I expect them to. But I think the Pirannoids and the Lemurians and Saurians make it really interesting because you get to choose some very exotic colors, but we're all pulling pictures from nature to help us get there on what we're looking at. So it is unique. And actually, I think just about everybody was pulling actual real life lizards and fish into their examples to try to get some color patterns. So sometimes you might see something that doesn't really fit with the color wheel. And the irony is that it's not on the color wheel, it's in nature. So
that's pretty awesome, actually, to hear from you.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it before we started recording, Rob, but one thing I do got to commend you on is the diversity and that's in this line. Wave 2, I mean wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3. You're offering great unique things. It's not just a copy paste from wave 1 to wave 2 to wave 3. You could tell there's a lot of differences in the sculpts and the parts and a lot of different stuff. I'm not trying to bash anybody. Again, we're not bashing here. We like to just emphasize the good and talk about positives here. But yeah, I got to say, I give it up to you, man, for doing that just with the 3 waves and just making everything a lot different for each wave. And also, we were talking about very budget friendly. If you don't have it like that, to drop the $38, which is extremely reasonable, I got to say. But I mean, there's a little bit of a cheaper version right here for you. $25 for the Savage. You get the figure with the club, 2 different hands. Dude, you're not getting this, especially this quality of sculpt and paint and this and that from some of the bigger companies out there. Not for this price. It's just unheard of. So it's pretty fucking awesome. And the fact this was the eye catcher to me, $15. That's crazy. That's madness.
So the real story here is the $25 version was what we were going with. We didn't have a $15 version.
Oh, okay.
And then we got pricing back from the factory, and it was very eye-opening how cheap the slate figure, this what we refer to as the slate figure, could be. And it was just within just a couple of weeks of the Kickstarter, I was asking internally what people thought of the idea. And with my background with the MAFC and the 3D printing, and it's mostly a lot of customizing, and so I knew that this would really appeal to customizers. I had no idea how much it would actually appeal to the average toy collector. So it would be a great cheap way to army build. But at the same time, not everyone, it kind of might look too cheap, I guess, by not having a lot of color on it. Just depending on your personal taste, especially when you stand it next to some of the other characters in the line. So, but it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. We've actually double checked on the pricing. They had to actually sit down and explain to me why it was this price. I wasn't really comfortable at first because I wanted a little bit deeper understanding of how costs went about. And especially even on because when you look at the character packs, they have extreme decos on the character packs. And the pricing on that
pack one,
it was pretty cheap. So I was trying to understand why it made it that cheap, even though it had all that deco. And then what they were basically saying is that when you have joints, that creates a cost through labor, because you actually have to manually go in and put the disc piece and hold it in and it gets put into the tooling mold each little shift, and the plastic goes around it. And so that's a manual piece that they have to do each time. So that's labor intensive in terms of that. So on this, there's actually nothing labor intensive. The machine can do all of it and just keep spitting it out into bins. Whereas when you have joints in the process, you actually someone has to stick it in there and put these little pieces of plastic, which are essentially your disc joints, into the section where you're going to have joints, the mastic fold or mold around the joints. So just some interesting tidbits about how that goes about in terms of pricing, because we think of pricing in terms of paint apps, but it also goes back to how many joints you have, and things of that nature also affect your cost. So in addition to just how many units you produce. So that's important. The other important aspect of the amount of tooling that we're doing per wave and how it's all different is unheard of and has never been seen before. And quite frankly, I don't begrudge anybody that is skeptical of that. But that's something that I personally wanted to do, and that's something I'm putting my money behind. And it's just a business decision on my standpoint. It's not that anybody else is doing anything wrong per se, but I believe in a longer term investment when you're doing business, and it doesn't bother me to put money into tooling and then it take a very long time to get that money back out of the tooling. It is a tooling plate. It will sit there for years. You can come back to it. So all of that works so long as you have the demand. And I think that you do and will have the demand as you continue to do that, as you continue to be fresh. And so all I can tell you is that you'll never, I won't say never, but about 90% of the combinations that you see in the first 3 waves, you won't see again. And if you see some armor, you'll see the armor again, but you're going to see it on an entirely different character, and it's going to have new pieces on it. So it's going to be unique, I think, and it's so far it's very successful in the Kickstarter, and I think it'll continue to be successful. But I think it's going to be very entertaining to watch people try to collect pieces from these first couple of waves because they're trying to get their hands on it to kit bash something that they didn't foresee or think of. And so just to put it out there, like you're looking at this character pack, a lot of people don't realize that they missed the necklace in there. They don't think about how all these pieces might fit on a Piranhanoid. They don't think about how these pieces might fit on a Barbarian.
That's what I was just thinking. You could make yourself like a raider out of this kit right here on one of the Barbarians. That's where my head was going. Yep.
No, it's there. It's there for a reason. And there are other pieces to these sets that people haven't seen yet. So it's going to be fun. I mean, it really is. I think it's going to be, people are going to really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, I really do. So like, I like that the character packs are, $25. That's fairly reasonable. Pretty awesome. Gives a whole new life to like the figures. And like you said, the mix and match aspect of it is awesome. Out of the two, I'm more of a fan of this one just because I like the weapons. I really do like the weapons. And then this guy right back here. I'm not sure if that's like a Triceratops type thing. I don't think so. I think it's just more of a helmet. But I'm a sucker for like a Triceratops type dinosaur characters, and I'm like, oh, I really like that head. That's pretty fucking awesome. And then all the different like that shield. That shield's awesome. The weapons are awesome. Just all of it. I'm just like, oh man, there's so many awesome pieces and parts here that I really cannot wait. Like I doubled up on these the character packs. I was just like, I need these. They're pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think that the part that gets me is like, look at this, and there's like 4 different sculptors worked on this one pack.
Oh shit! Wow. So it's not the same person just working on one. Oh man, that's insane.
And that's what I really like about that wave 1 from my perspective is all the different types of heads. And so you have the Saurian heads, you have the Lemurian heads, and Koma is actually a hybrid. He's half human, half Lemurian. And yeah, I mean, there's like 3 or 4 different sculptors working on these different heads, but they all go really, really well.
Sorry, I've been neglecting the chat. Renato says, sorry, I'm a bit late. This is an amazing line of backing. Awesome. Hope everyone is doing great. Absolutely. Welcome, Renato. I like the frilled head. Okay, yeah, that one's pretty awesome. Reminds me of Jurassic Park. That right before you jump on the chubby dude at the in the middle. I can't.
Yeah, that one was actually sculpted by Lee J. Robinson. The frill head. He sculpted the one on the Savage, the Slate, and then on the Royal Guard and the Imperial Sentry, and then he did that frill head, and then he did one in the other character pack as well.
So these are beautiful. I got to say the Dwarven coin sets, and I'm pretty excited to see when we eventually get to dwarves. At a future time. Obviously, we might be. Maybe I'm just assuming here, but I'm assuming eventually we'll get to dwarves. If there's in the lore getting dwarven coins, so that's pretty awesome. That you got the copper, the gold, and the silver. Right? Is that correct?
That is correct. And I think it's fair to say that there will be dwarves in Wave 4.
Yes.
The death threats can stop.
Jade, our boy Jade, he's a sucker for dwarves. He got like an army of dwarves in his personal collection right now. So I'm pretty sure he's excited to add more and more and more. So yeah, these are beautiful. You can definitely tell they're high quality. Abyss Cipher coin with the silver finish. This is is honestly like awesome and like wicked as fuck. It reminds me of like a decoder ring type thing. To be honest, I didn't miss anything here, right? It's not like a decoder type thing at all, right?
So the wheel actually spins.
Oh
And
shit!
So,
secret messages, guys. Get this confirmed now. No, it's fine.
so there were when we did the original marketing, we sent this out to the top 90 people that had spent the most with MAFC, and that's how they were selected. So if you got one of these, it means that you spent too much money at our 3D website. So, and then everybody that ever purchased from us got a dwarf coin. So that was, I think there was 1,200 of those sent out.
Yeah, Matt got one of those. He was really excited.
And so we sent out these very cryptic messages, and it's 2 numbering systems. Obviously, we're all familiar with the one on the outside of the ring, but the inside of the ring is a numbering system that was invented by the Cistercian monks in the 13th century. And basically, it's a numbering system that allows you to write the number 1 to 9,999 in a single place.
Shit.
And so with it spinning, you have to line it up correctly to understand how to decode it to the alphabet. And so it's actually aligned right now for decoding. And that's why those 2 lines are actually highlighted. And when you get the original piece, there actually is a little highlighting because those 2 actually glow in the dark. And so the key to this is the back of it, the Latin on the back means light and darkness. And so it's supposed to cue you in to use that to line up the decoder. So yes, we still send out coded messages sometimes, and we'll get more elaborate in how we do that in the future. But this is a very solid piece. It's pretty big.
Well, I'm gonna have to add this. I did not have this part of my backing. I'm gonna have to add it on after this.
Yeah, I think I have one here. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, it's. So to give anybody an idea just how big they are.
I'm gonna give you a Jeez, that's massive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like the size of a baseball, it looks like.
Probably a little bit bigger. Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, it's very thick. It weighs a lot. You have this on your desk, and people ask a lot of questions about it. So
yeah,
it's a really cool piece. Me and Gordon Lake worked on it together, and we're quite happy with how it turned out.
Definitely, we're not overexcited. Not only am I trying to make space for it all, but trying to work on painting so I can custom. Yeah, for real. Definitely want to be able to customize them. The slates. I have a few of those on my backing. I'm gonna have to. Let me see if I added that to my pledge. Oh, sweet. Glad you did, man. I'm gonna have to definitely adjust my pledge and add that on.
Now, Rob, on the cipher coins here, you said you sent those out to the top 90 people, and obviously, going into here, people are going to be able to buy that. Were any of the people that you sent those to a Bible Belt? The only reason I ask is because me and Christian here are deep in the heart of Texas, and I know if I put that on my desk, I'd have some coworkers reporting me to HR.
So if you watched the Fwoosh when it first came out, he got one, and he made some jokes about that as well. And I live in Alabama, so there's enough jokes about that. So yeah, some people, and especially the way it got sent out, like the address, the return address was actually one of HP Lovecraft's house. So and I had these Arabic stamps from when I was in the Middle East in the Iraq War, and I actually had like this frilled paper. I mean, you could tell it was fake, but about as close as you can make something looking real to it still being fake. And so people really thought, they're like, what the hell is this? I mean, because it was pretty elaborate. And I even put like hamper stickers on the box, and just all kinds of fun stuff. And it had a coded message that looked like someone had written it in blood, like "help me." And it was fun. It did what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to create a lot of buzz, and people were like, "What in the hell is this?" And
you did it.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we were successful. But I can tell you that if you got one of the gold ones, there were only 125 made. So it's a fairly rare piece, and I can assure you that that's probably about the amount that will in silver that'll get made as well. So there'll be a lot of people asking for this later, I feel like.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So here we go. We got the physical version. $18 to add it on. 56 pages, graphic novel. That's a nice read, and that's fairly reasonable as well for the pricing of the comic, because that's about what you would pay in store at a comic book shop. So I got to say, I love the cover. So first thing that I'm seeing here, that big, huge purple guy. I don't know if that's rock or dragon, but instantly I'm like, I need him eventually. Then the tiger guy, again, like I mentioned, monsters, animals, things like that. Oh my God, man, it's kick ass. I need that. I need that in my collection.
We're working on it, guys. We're working on it.
All right. So wave 5 confirmed, guys.
Oh goodness. Yeah, actually, I think Nick has shown his shark body in some of the chats. I think that essentially we've told people that we want different body sizes and different body types, and we'll try to get there as fast as we can. Don't feel like it's anyone's benefit to slow play anything. So yes, we want that. Everyone wants that. I don't know how soon we'll be able to get to the rock type guys, the anvils as I call them. Everyone's asking for, as you like to call him, the cat guy. But yeah, no, we realize that there are a lot of fantasy type characters that people want, even outside these two. And that's why we created the Lions, because we felt like there's a lot of fantasy type characters that don't get serviced very well. And that's where we want to be.
Wholeheartedly agree, man. So it says sangre right here. Does that mean blood? Because that's what it is in Spanish, right?
Yep.
Never mind. I was going to say, is there a significance to that? But I don't want to maybe spoil something or have you give something away for the book. So
well, I'll tell you this. Rubus did the artwork. He's a Greek artist. He's fairly well known, especially in that part of the country. He's done a tremendous amount of artwork and graphic novels. He actually has one of the most awesome YouTube videos of Santa you'll ever see. So occasionally we plug it in our Facebook group, but he does some acting and things like that. So he's a fantastic, very talented man. And Abraham, he actually wrote it, and Abraham is a very, very talented man. The amount of effort that he puts into his writing is more than I mean, I wish I had his ability. I've said this on the other podcast, in the first part of the graphic novel, everything's written in a foreign language. And the cadence to it is actually to Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle, because the character is a sort of a tribute to my deceased brother, who was a big Guns N' Roses fan. And so Abraham put that in there, like, just, who thinks of that kind of stuff?
That's pretty awesome.
That was next level. So there are deeper meanings to things than people realize. I can assure you of that.
I could tell, like, with your line, especially like because of how the buzz and this and that. It seems like you gotta dissect and look at and pay attention to every little thing, just in case. There's
details that people miss, and it's intentional, and it's okay. You don't have to realize or pick up everything. It just, we do telegraph some of the things that we're doing. And
sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're getting a couple important questions, I feel like. Can we have a dad body type for the thick guys out there?
When you say dad bod, though, that's my thing. Like, I don't know what that really means. Like, does it just mean you have a pot belly, or does that mean you're completely out of shape, or how does that work exactly?
You still got biceps. Just a little bit of pudge on the around the stomach area.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll poll all the female fans and let them decide what they think is a dad bod, and then we'll take that and we'll that feedback and we'll make one. I think that's the best. I think that's the most appropriate way. I think if we let all the men decide what a dad bod is, we might get something a little skewed. So
true. We need to definitely hear from the ladies. 100% true.
So
The next one,
I've always just
go
assumed
ahead.
dad bod was, bodybuilder versus power lifter.
okay. I mean, it might
Just
be. I don't know. I really
less
don't
muscle,
know.
but I mean, I've just always assumed less muscle definition. But like, I mean, you might have somebody that's slimmer versus somebody that's just going to be a little thicker. That's just.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a woman's approach is always going to be the correct one to that one.
Matt over here is saying, will you implement soft goods?
Yes. So
Maybe a
Jaeger
possibility.
and Wave 2 has a cape that's being developed. And then Warrior with Ball and Chain also has a soft good cape in addition to his PVC cape. So we just haven't shown those because we're still working on them. There's some final details. It's very interesting working with soft goods, but we're never going to be, I say never, but I don't think you're ever going to see a character with pants and like fully cloth. I don't think that's my style. Just, it's Mezco does some amazing things. I actually was having this conversation yesterday. Most people don't realize that Mezco was actually doing dolls way before their 112th line, and that was how they became experts in soft goods. So I have zero of those skills, and thankfully the Strups Family Crafts have helped me with that. So we'll see. We'll just see where it goes. But like I said, I don't foresee us ever doing like full-on clothed characters or anything of that nature. Doing a cape here or there just simply because it's more pliable and you can do more things with it. Sounds like a great idea, but not something that we're ever going to do any kind of extremes on.
From Jade, one of our co-hosts that couldn't make it tonight. Frazetta women.
This is something that gets asked a lot.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, and it's actually a tricky subject. I talked to the Frazetta Museum, great group of people over there, and we talked about it for a little bit about how to go about it because, as pointed out, some of us live in the Bible Belt, and some of us have kids, and some of us even have little girls. And whether you have little girls or little boys doesn't really matter. But sometimes you don't want a naked action figure on your shelf. And some of the characters from Frazetta necessarily aren't nude in the sense that they're nude facing the viewer, but they might have their back turned to you and they're completely nude from that standpoint. So not exactly an ideal situation for anybody for the average person that wants to display them. So there's things that we're looking at in terms of creating options where if someone wants to be artistically accurate to any of Frazetta's paintings, we can allow that, but also give the person the option to display those types of women in a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Reserved fashion that doesn't offend as many people.
Okay, so, there you go.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's great.
I know I wouldn't be showing off like if they were like with nothing because I do have a daughter. So yeah, I would definitely want them to have something. Females would be cool.
I mean, and we talk about too is like if we do that, we also kind of want to balance it. Like if you're trying to do something sort of sleek and sexy, you want to have something very empowering as well on the other side. Because look, I mean, that's just it. Like we don't want anyone to feel objectified in a certain manner or anyone to have to explain a tricky situation to their daughter.
Yeah.
Just try to avoid it the best you can, but still create some really cool stuff from fantasy that we all really enjoyed.
Yeah. Feel free to, if you guys have other questions, guys. Lemurian coin, I'm just going to be going over some of the stuff. Barbarian coin, which I really do like this one as well. I like all the little coins and all these little add-ins. Whose idea was that? Your idea? Whose idea? This like they're just awesome things that you could put in the display and like cool little.
So generically, the coin concept I take credit for. Mm-hmm. The design of all the coins comes from Matt O'Toole, the person I was telling you about, who works in the film industry. Also does a lot of character design for us, and actually does critiquing on a lot of our sculpts. Gordon Lake actually sculpted these 3 from his drawings into SDL files, so we could send over to the manufacturer of the coins. And so where the idea came from is, most people, when you see these all-in waves, they try to entice you to buy every figure in a wave. And there's multiple ways. You can do a bath, a Build-A-Figure, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, wants you just lower the price and then let you buy the figure and whatever, right? But because what you end up doing is you end up having all these extra parts floating around. It seems like a waste. And then sometimes people only want the bath and not the figures, and that's kind of crappy. I mean, I don't want someone to have to buy 4 figures they don't want to get a 5th. That doesn't really feel true to me as a collector. So, and then other times people like give you a discount, and the discount almost seems, sometimes it's minuscule, sometimes like 6%, sometimes 8%, whatever. And it's a nice gesture, don't get me wrong, but I just wanted to give somebody something that was nice for getting the whole set. Now, we had a lot of requests to make the coins separate but purchasable, and I did give in to that, but I still feel like that the coins are going to be a relatively rare thing overall, given how many all-ins there are and how many people are going to buy an individual one. So I think it's a nice item that's very tangible. It feels really good in the hand. It's a great display piece, and it adds some value. Now, one of the great things from a manufacturing standpoint of doing this is that coin MOQs, that's minimum order quantities, are extremely low compared to the minimum order quantities for manufacturing a toy. So most factories today that you work with in China will produce a run of about 1,000 at a minimum, but usually their MOQ is around 3,000. And so to put that in perspective, 3,000 is sort of like their best price. And then 1,000 is like the lowest they're willing to tolerate you. If you get below that, they don't really want to mess with you because it's not worth their time. And to be honest, they don't really want to do 1,000 either. Like they much rather be doing 3,000 or something, because that's just, it's just that whole efficiency standpoint. So when you get into like trying to create something out of plastic for all ends or something of that nature, it puts you in a very hard spot to create it and have the demand for it, and not like just eat a huge cost. And so I've seen people make stuff out of plastic that I thought was kind of cheap, didn't really appeal to me. So I thought this was one of the best ways to go.
I would agree. I'm into it. We got Chuck-a-Luck saying effects ?
Yeah.
I've
gotten your emails, Chuck. I promise. I'm not ignoring you.
Oh shit! He's trying to chase you down from show to show.
Charles is an incredibly talented person. He does some amazing
Chucky's
effects and adds in LEDs with them. They're simply amazing.
Oh shit! Yes.
So
Charles, Chucky.
Chuck, you need to be able to plug some of your stuff or tell people where to go, because I mean he sells them. He does some fantastic stuff. So he's actually like trying to come up with some stuff that we can use as prototypes for the future. But some of the things that he does are just off the chain, and it's next level on what he can do. So yes, I've gotten your emails. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just overwhelmed. One of the things about running a Kickstarter that I didn't know that I know now is there's like about 100 companies that are trying to sell you stuff during the Kickstarter.
Yep.
And it's amazing how persistent they are. I can tell you, I got one today. It was the 4th email from the same person. And the guy was, this 4th email was like, "What is your problem? Why are you not responding?"
I'm trying to help you.
And I was just like, I didn't ask for you to sell me anything. Like, I didn't sign up for something. I didn't engage you in a conversation, sir. I don't know why you think that's going to work. But yeah, so my inbox is overwhelmed. Just with emails, much less, comments or direct messages or anything of that nature. So,
we're having Chucky on next week, actually, for a little interview and stuff like that, to give him a spotlight. Because we talked to him over at Legion's Con, and where we actually got to meet him and stuff like that. But I try to give customizers and people that offer services and effects and things like that, try to give them actual spotlight, like a whole entire show, just to like sell themselves and show and introduce people to what they do. So we're gonna definitely have them on next week.
Well, you guys should definitely tune in next week because I mean he got started. I think it was in monsters like figure arts effects and things like that.
Mhm.
And, I mean how I got to know him was through MAFC, and he had some pieces and that I bought from him, and then he came down to Toylanta and displayed down there. And Chuck, you can tell Charles, you can tell your own story, but I think he was a little apprehensive to sell in the beginning, and I was like, dude, your stuff's amazing. Like everyone's gonna love this.
Hi, Loki. My dog wanted to come say hi.
Oh,
We got Who Man right here, their barbarian, and I got to say, I really do love this character design. What he has, I dig it. I dig it a lot.
well, the unique part about that design is actually Rubus gets credit for the character design. It's kind of neat how like some of the sculptors will design something, and then sometimes they come just from artists, like 2D artists are designing these sets. So I don't think that any one piece belongs to one person.
That's awesome. It just shows like, all you guys working together and being a team. Kruger, right? Is that what it was? Yeah,
Krieger. Yeah, Krieger. And guys, you can actually Google a lot of these names. They're actually foreign words. So
okay. I love this one. I like the shoulder pauldron there with like the dinosaur skull right there, and just everything that he has, just the whole entire aesthetic. I like it.
Kevin DeLay sculpted him head to toe, and Krieger is actually German for warrior. So,
oh shit! Okay.
Okay, I was going to ask about that one specifically just because German grandmother used to be yelled at in German, and I recognize it as German. I just wasn't 100% sure what it meant.
Yep, nope. I mean, there's a lot of German names in here. I mean, Jaeger obviously means hunter. Nashorn means rhino, actually.
I really love this character. I love this design. Like a lot. I'm like, holy shit, I love this guy.
So this one's Kevin DeLay sculpted this guy as well, and this is all him. I basically told him, I said, I need something iconic in the form, or something as iconic as Boba Fett and Warduke. And so that's why he has those horns, and that whole profile, that silhouette is.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's definitely you know who's coming. And the skin tone that we chose is there's this famous model. I can't think of her name right now. I need to get a picture of her, but she has this incredibly black skin. I mean, it's black. It is very black, and she talks about how much she was bullied and for having such incredibly dark skin. Now she's a world-renowned model, but her skin is incredibly beautiful. But that was the skin tone that we were going for. So some people asked because he's not brown or something to that effect, but that was the skin tone we were actually going for.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, on the helmet there, are the horns going to be removable for shipping, or how are you guys planning on doing that one? Because, I mean, a good bump in the wrong material, you got pieces.
So, yes, the horns are removable. If you look in the character pack, there's several other horn sets.
Okay.
They're all interchangeable from that standpoint. And so the irony is, in a helmet like that, you have a choice. You can either make them sort of pop and swappable, or you have to make them where you can glue them in, because there's no way you can mold that in one piece.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. So sometimes it's too late to make choices, but when you're designing a figure, I don't know why that option's not more readily available versus the gluing them in place. Because like I said, you're going to have to mold them separately anyway and put them together. So
yeah, you figure that would just make more sense. Not to mention it gives you more options.
Will
Exactly.
the arrows on Yeager's chest be soft enough to get full use out of the torso articulation?
So I got this prototype right here. Make sure I turn it towards the camera. But I mean, as of right now, they're
Oh, look,
pretty
it's
soft
not
enough.
even getting in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you can choose to take it off. And, now we are contemplating making this a separate piece, like the arrow piece, where you can just actually pull that entire piece off if you don't like these arrows being there. I've heard, some people have complained about realism on a werewolf character. So,
I was like, bro, this is based off fantasy. What?
yeah, I know, but you roll with the punches sometimes. I get their point. I get why they're trying to say it, but so yeah, we're considering making that a separate piece that plugs in, so you can have it on or off if you want to. I'll decide that probably in about another 4 or 5 months, and that would give me some more options to utilize the belt in the future as well. So it is something we're strongly considering. But no, that shouldn't get in the way. There's also some comments about the waist. The skirt piece is very thick or whatever, but I mean, you can bend it over. So, if you bend it out of the way, you can get some, reasonable
it's
things.
pliable.
So, yeah.
So
But
I'm
that's the idea.
assuming that's the model that you guys have showed articulation off on the Instagram page before in the past couple months.
It's one of the three. There's three
Okay.
of those, but yeah.
And I mean, obviously, that is one of my favorite designs coming out of Wave 2.
Yeah, that's
happy to see that you guys sent that over to the amazing sample, even though
You're breaking up a bit, bro.
your roboting.
Yeah, you're turning into Starstream over
sorry.
here.
But no,
okay.
I just wanted to commend you on that design. I thought it was beautiful and just love the fact that we got to see more of it from D Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
D does some great videos. I really appreciate him getting those out in time. And Kevin was the designer and the sculptor on Jaeger. And the first time I saw it, actually, I think there's some early concept art already in the Facebook group of it. And we were just throwing out ideas. I was like, that's him. I was like, I want that one. And yeah, he is pretty awesome. And actually, Jaeger's the main protagonist in the second graphic novel. Abraham's already finished writing that one. So
Sweet. Hell yeah.
maybe we get to figure out why he has an eye patch.
Hint, hint. I'm a sucker for werewolves. If I was going to be like some type of mythological creature, or out of the famous two vampires, werewolves, definitely a werewolf. All day, every day, over a vampire.
Nah, man, no.
For Zetta's Ball and Chain, man, it's beautiful. It's epic. It's gorgeous. I can't wait to see this thing on a horse. Yeah, I can't wait to have this thing in hand. I definitely made sure to have this when I backed. I didn't go all in on every single wave, but I definitely made sure this was coming to me for sure.
And let me just reiterate, guys, like we're not trying to overwhelm anyone's pocketbook.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a completionist, then put your money towards wave 1 and wave 2 and don't worry about wave 3. We're going to have another pre-order for wave 3.
See, there you go, people.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it multiple times. I just keep trying to reiterate people, because one of the things that we wanted to do is make sure the line was affordable for people. And it is awesome when you see a wave and it's got all these different types of characters and it's very unique and it's very large, but the price tag is also very overwhelming for you as the consumer and for me as the producer. And I think it's a turnoff to a lot of collectors when they feel like they can't get everything that they want. And I don't want to put anyone in that situation. So we've tried to make sure that every wave comes in around that $200 mark, sort of moving forward. And I think that's awesome. I think that's a reasonable, attainable price for a wave.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty awesome of you to be conscious of that as well and care about the people that are, supporting you and backing your project. That's pretty awesome. Other people are like, hey, too bad for you. Sucks to be you. But you know what? But that's what I'm saying. Like, I love that you guys are giving us options here. This character pack, it's awesome. I love it. Yeah, man, I love the alternate head sculpt right there that you could use for Jaeger. The different horns, helmets, just the club, the shield. all of it. You guys have anything to say about it?
I mean, you're gonna just like go right past that second set of hands there. Like, I mean, I saw this had picked up a few comments off into
I
your
wasn't
fan
gonna
page
focus
on
that.
Facebook, and I was like, who's really getting their feelings hurt about that? I mean, it's an add-on pack. If you're not interested, don't buy it. But like, I mean,
Yeah.
you're just scrolling past it, Gil. Come on now.
My bad. I didn't mean to. Come on. There we go. I meant to go back to there. But yeah, I don't like to talk about controversy and the BS and crap like that. But I mean, exactly what you're saying, Heath. I wholeheartedly agree. If you don't like it, then don't back that. Don't buy that. Just don't get this character pack. It's not the main pack, and get over it.
Well, I mean, I think I can't speak for those individuals that had a problem with it per se, but my understanding of the situation is simply that some people thought or inferred or misstated that those were directed at individuals or whatever, and it's not. It has nothing to do with that. It's just something that A, I thought it was fun, and B, something that relates back to my brother and how we used to do this to each other all the time. And it's not really offensive. It's actually more humorous to us, but to other people, can be construed as offensive, and that's why we did put it in a character pack. And if it's that offensive to anyone that they feel like they can't back the line because this is in one of our character packs, I understand. I'm not going to hold it against you. To each their own. So, I don't have a problem with it, and I respect other people's decisions on what they want to have in their house, and I get it. So,
yeah. So I totally get where you're coming from, but the people that would be offended by that, I'm like, and how's the weather in 1964? Because you shouldn't be on the internet. I mean,
well, remember,
I lived in the 90s.
You have kids and things like that, and you're trying to set the best example. I mean, it can be. You don't want to be seen as a hypocrite, and I mean, those are very valid reasons. There's plenty of things that I did as a kid that if I had kids, I wouldn't want them to know about. So I'd probably act like I didn't do any of this, right? So,
see, I mean, it's one of those things. I completely understand where you're coming from, and I get the argument, and I totally get it. But also at the same time, born in '88, celebrated my 35th competition around the sun. When I was a pro wrestling fan, in the late '90s, the biggest pro wrestler in the world gave everybody the double fingers. I mean, just so like that one's never really just registered as like that offensive to me. But I get it.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a 5-year-old running around and he sees this on your toy shelf, and he goes to school, I mean, it just creates problems for you, right? And you don't need that. And I get it.
He's gonna go through all of his classmates.
Exactly. I mean, and like I said, it's fair. But I think you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can't back any parts of the line because of one character pack. I think that's a pretty hard line to take. I think I'm a little bit more reasonable than that, but yeah, that's just me personally. So,
Alf 8888 says, "Will Wave 1 be available at a later date after the Kickstarter, even if it takes a while?"
The second part of the question I don't understand because the Wave 1's supposed to ship by the end of 2023, like late fall, early winter. So, you won't see another production run of Wave 1. I don't feel like that's fair to people that back me and support me from that standpoint to reissue a figure. You can reissue a figure, but it has to be a different paint application. Otherwise, a very strong variant. That's just my personal opinion as a collector. If someone did pre-order from you and supported you in the beginning, it's kind of, I see both ways. Like somebody didn't know about your line and they want to get into it and they want to be completionist and they want to try to get it. But at the same time, someone bets on you when you're an unproven company. That's a pretty big deal. And so I think it would be wrong to have like another wave of these in the future. That's just my personal opinion. And there's arguments to be had on both sides of that. Having said that, I would strongly recommend that you put your money into the Kickstarter for Wave 1 because I'm not guaranteeing that you'll ever have another opportunity at those prices to ever purchase those figures. And so, yes, there will be an opportunity for retailers, but no, they're not going to be anywhere close to the prices that you're getting on the Kickstarter.
Yes, Timothy, buy lots of Wave 1. At the
And that
very
makes
least,
perfect
Wave 1 and
sense.
2.
I mean, you're starting something here. This initial Kickstarter is going to be the basis. The people who are in on the ground level are going to have that option of getting a lot of things that, unfortunately, the people who come down the line, it's just not going to be there. It's not meanness. It's not out of any sort of vindictiveness. It's just the reality of the situation that the people who start right now are going to have that. So I totally get where you're coming from. I think that's a really awesome idea.
Here goes the character pack 2. And I got to say, I really dig that axe and the sword there. And the skulls are pretty awesome. But those are like the most standout things to me right there. The armor's cool. Not the biggest fan of it, but like the sword and the sword and the axe, I'm just like, oh shit, those are wicked. I like the demon-esque type of things. Wave 3. Here we go. Heath, your bread and butter, your favorites over here. Fathom
Absolutely.
Scout.
Yep.
This is pretty fucking awesome. The sword, that's what you were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. It's definitely got an homage to, a character. I mean, I don't know what it is. There's just certain like designs that draw me in. I think I'm the only person that, I talk to on a regular basis to so many people. And I'm like, man, when it comes to Mythic Legions, I'm about the goblins. I think those are the funnest characters to me. And, just rolls back to different strokes for different folks. But
Sure.
like I said, this design, I love what you guys are doing here. I love the paint. I'm liking just the whole aesthetic to this wave.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the what should I call it? I'm not even sure what the hell this weapon would be called right here. The scythe type thing. That was a standout thing to me, and I was just like, dude, that's fucking awesome. That looks badass.
Yeah.
Yep. Nick Whitmore out of the UK sculpted this one. A lot of people refer to that as a merman sword for obvious reasons because of their Motu background. But the irony is that you can actually find this sword in museums dating back about 600-700 years. A swordfish type of weapon. I mean, there are plenty of examples of this in history. This is not something that's original to Motu. So,
yeah.
But yeah, there is a nostalgia factor to that sword for a lot of us. That is fair.
We got the League Striker. And I got to say, I really love the undead eyes here. It just looks creepy. It's menacing. I really do like this. I liked how vibrant the Scout was with the nice blue and everything like that. And then this is more toned down, more gritty, more, I don't know, just like I could see this being a part of the trench down there, like almost like a stealth guy type of thing too, just because how dark and muted the colors are. And I'm just like,
very much so. And that's that Psycho that you guys have in chat, Tim Peak. He actually did the paint master for this.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Beautiful
so
work.
that should provoke him to make some more comments now.
Slates for 15, yes, Renato.
Yeah, the one design thing on here that I'm a little unsure of, and I went back and forth, is the lobster tail in the front. I've considered
right here.
kind of nixing that little piece just so that it looks a little bit better on other figures moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't made up my mind. That's the only thing that kind of haunts me right now in my dreams.
Lives in your head rent free.
Yeah, pretty much, yes. But the colors are fantastic. I mean, some people have mentioned Battle Cat, how it has like green and red. And I get the reference. Yeah. Completely get the reference. So, but these colors look great. I think Tim did a great job. Gordon Lake, I think it was Gordon that worked on these weapons. Wasn't it Gordon? Or was this Kevin? Did Kevin work on the weapons? See, I get confused. That's the problem with having such a large team. You start to forget who worked on what. And I think Kevin did these. Yeah, Kevin did the weapons on this.
Abyss Dreadnought. The other thing, man, is like kudos for the articulated jaws. Hell yeah, I'm all about that, man. That's fucking awesome.
Have y'all seen the mouths when they're open, especially on this one?
Oh yeah, it's like a vortex.
This is great.
It like
Yes.
draws you in.
And it like
Yes.
it looks like it has a glowing effect, correct?
Yeah, Nikki Nicole Cheney did a fantastic job on the paint
Dude.
for this. And those blue mouths are, I mean,
Knocked
they
out
are the
of the
cherry
park.
on the top. So really in love with this. Now the sculpting for the figure was all Nick Whitmore, except for the weapons. It was Kevin that did the weapons on this one as well. So, but just a lot of fun.
So out of the three so far, this one's my favorite. You got the anglerfish antenna, the visor thing, just like with the Cyclops, like one little thing, like line visor. I really do like that. I find it very intimidating. The armor, just the colors. I really do like the spear, even the anchor. It's pretty fucking awesome. And I did not think that it could be used as like a weapon before. So I do think that's kind of like out of the box thinking, and I commend you guys for that. Oh shit. A little bit too fast right there. Too fast. We got the Paranoid Savage 25. Again, pretty awesome that you're fucking offering a more basic figure for such a great price, especially with the type of articulation it has, the sculpt and everything else. The club, the alternate hands. Just look at that face too, man. That's only a face a mama could love. It's so hideous. It's gorgeous. I really do like that. And then Paranoid Slate, which I had to get a couple of these too. I love the colors because I'm a sucker for teal. I'm like, dude, the teal with the gray. I was like, that was a great color combo. I have sneakers that's like that color combo. So I was like, dude, I need this. This shit's fucking awesome. Again, with the purple, a lot of purple in this line. I love it. It's great, man. I really do like it. Harbinger of the Abyss. This guy, since you guys originally put out concept art on him, was definitely like something that piqued my interest. And I was just like, holy shit. The Lovecraft, Cthulhu, just esqueness from it, all that stuff from it, like the vibes that you're giving off with it. I love it, man. It's fucking beautiful.
So the original concept art came from a Canadian artist named Taryn Fiddler, and he did a lot of the work, at least half the concept art that's published online. Not half of it exists by any stretch, but he does some fantastic art. He's got a great following on Instagram and just does some really crazy stuff. But his direction was, I was like, give me a cultist monster, and we were on the phone. We were just throwing out ideas, but like. In the original concept art, that's actually what it's titled. It's Cultist Monster at the top. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this guy nailed it. And I love the character. It is a nightmare from a tooling perspective on how we're going to reuse it. I actually do think about this a lot. And because you don't think about reusing it in its entirety, but you think about how you're going to reuse it in parts. And we've got, to quote, Guardians of the Galaxy, we have about 12% of a plan on how to actually reuse the sculpting here. But in all honesty, one of the great things about working with the factory, when we did the Paint Master and the factory actually saw it, they were like, I think we can do more. So, like, I don't know how many times you ever hear that from a factory. I'm like, no, I think we can actually do more than this. And so it's going to be interesting to see what the little extra more is going to be on this guy in terms of paint. But they get just as excited as we do.
I do love the extra hands, especially this one right here, the little small one with tentacles. That's awesome. The necklace. I love that you guys got some vertical hinges going on. The one over here, the one over here. So not only do you have the vertical, there's horizontal ones, the staff, just everything. And Rob, I got some ideas on how you could reuse this sculpt. We could talk later on, but
yeah, I mean, here, I'll share this with you guys on that one hand.
Oh shit!
See that he's got like what is it, like an octopus mouth or whatever?
Yeah, it looks like a beak right there. The octopus beak
has the beak. Yep.
That
And,
is awesome.
Wow.
so, and some people have asked some questions about this guy, so I figure I'll, for the people that showed up,
Kroll and Devil from Legend, huh?
that's got to be Tim again. Is that Tim?
We're all in on Kroll. He's been
Tim.
shouting Kroll, and it's bringing me back. I'm like, yeah, Kroll.
He won't.
It's
He won't stop.
Timothy.
He won't stop.
Is Christian too, and Matt. So don't just only blame it on Timothy. It's all three of them.
So this is what the Harbinger looks like without his chest piece on. I mean, the robe piece on. So not to spoil everything, but
Oh, dude, yes, that is awesome. I love
so
it.
you understand how we could potentially might be able to use this.
Oh, absolutely.
Other
Yep.
entirely different types of characters.
Yeah.
So that's something that some people have asked if the robe was like a part of the actual chest or not, and it's not. It is. It's an add-on piece.
That's
And
awesome.
So I get to put them back together now. But yeah, so just a little behind the scenes for the people that showed up, get something that other people don't get to see. So it is worth tuning in to hear me talk over and over again.
Will it be a bendy or harder plastic? It looks like it's going to be a nice pliable bendy plastic. Bernardo.
Yeah, it will be. You don't want to make it too hard
Yeah.
at all. I mean, that just takes away from it. You don't want it too soft either, but
Dude, yes, that's beautiful.
yeah, he's pretty in his own way.
Oh, absolutely. Frank over here, Frank Adami. I'm not sure if that's an I or an L. Don't know how popular it would be, but you know what licensed character I would love to see? ? Xena, Warrior Princess. That would be awesome. Something similar to a Xena of Warrior Princess. I could get behind that. Doesn't necessarily have to be Xena, but I could.
Yeah, I
get
wonder who owns
jiggy
the
with
licensing to that. I don't know. That's half the fun in licensing is tracking down who owns it.
Dude, you're telling me it's like, oh, I used to have this a couple years ago, but then I handed it off to this person, and then when you contact them, oh, I handed it off to that person. I'm like, what the fuck? I've done that before, trying to track something down. Character packs. So here goes the first character pack, and dude, I fucking love this. Everything here is cool, but the standouts, the book there. I don't want to assume here, but I want to see if I'm right or not. Is that like a cipher coin right here to the left?
It is.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was like, that looks like a cipher coin. I was just like, that's.
And the books from the graphic novel. It's an important plot point for the first third of the line.
So with the slate, I did make sure to grab the first character pack here. The trident, I love the trident. It's a beautiful trident, and I'm just like, man, I was like, that's a pretty kick-ass trident. That would work for Namor, Aquaman, a bunch of other characters too. Even if you didn't want to just use it for a Piranoid type character, I was like, this is probably the most badass fucking trident I've seen 6-inch scale, I gotta say. Here goes the articulation breakdown, which, man, so much articulation. I love it. The heads, double ball peg for the neck, great. Butterfly joints, diaphragm joint. Then you got the down here below at the waist rotation. Are those drop down hips or regular hips? I can't remember.
No, they're not drop down.
They're regular hips.
Like some of the more exotic versions of drop down hips. No.
Yeah, no. Then there's thigh rotation.
A better ankle. Yeah,
double jointed elbows, ankle rockers. Just it's great what you're giving us here. This is what every action figure line should be able to give us, and unfortunately, they're not. And it's a travesty. But thank you for giving it to us.
Yeah.
Now, you're giving it to yourselves, guys, by purchasing. I don't know what else to say to that.
Is the book hinged? Is the small little book hinged so it could open up?
That book? No, not yet.
Oh, you hear that, guys?
He said
not yet. Are they thinking of doing any soft wizard robes or hooded cloaks?
hooded clugs, potentially. I don't, soft goods are in my opinion, soft goods can come out great and sometimes they can come off really cheap. That's the first problem. The second problem is dust, and cloth collects dust worse than plastic. So that's an issue that you have. So we're dipping our toe into soft goods and being very cautious about how we go about it. Because the thing that I can't stand is like when you get like a furry soft good in, it just falls apart in your hand.
Yes.
Then you don't ever want to touch your figure. You don't ever want to repose them because he's just going to have a bald spot on the front of his crotch. Then it just looks like you're a weirdo. So yeah, you want to be smart about how you approach soft goods, because you can go with the wrong supplier. And what people don't realize is a lot of things that go on in a factory to make an action figure takes multiple factories. And so, for instance, where you get your tooling made is probably the same place that many other toy brands get their tooling made, that actually go on to separate factories and get made in terms of the plastic getting made in other factories. Your soft goods are going to be made in a different place. So the packaging is going to be made in a different place. And so it's kind of ironic because sometimes you can have your tooling and your packaging made from the same brand of toy X, and then you can have your toy made the same brand as toy Y, and vice versa. So it gets really interesting on how it's all pulled together. So
definitely. The other thing that we kind of I don't think we talked about it really, but the wave 1 you're looking at towards the end of the year, and then roughly wave 2 is about 6 months after that, and wave 3 is about 6 months after wave 2. So I do got to say that's awesome. I love that that's what you're looking at, kind of like, staggered rather than like boom all at once. Then you got to deal with delays and this and that. Like, you guys could focus one wave at a time. I'm assuming here, not 100% sure, but that seems like that would be the smart way to do it, and that's pretty awesome.
Oh no, a lot of talk and explanation went into the waves and how we wanted to achieve that. There was a huge priority. I can't stress that enough in terms of how we wanted to roll it out and get it into people's hands quickly. I detest that companies hold on to your money for multiple years.
It sucks.
I mean, and that's pretty much the majority of toy companies these days. So I'm not picking on anybody in particular. I have a lot of questions on why that happens. I do know that, this was going on before COVID. So COVID's a convenient excuse, but as toy collectors, we all know that was happening way before COVID.
Yeah,
and I, being on this side of it, I can tell you that the consumers, the individual collectors, pay their money up way before the retailers ever pay their money to the toy company for it to be produced. So I have a hard time with that as well. I don't mind. I get the idea that you want to collect your money first, but if there's a year gap between when your fans gave you money and a retailer gives you money, that's a problem for me, just on an ethical level. So I do get it from a standpoint that sometimes you're trying to invest money that you may not have, and smaller companies don't have resources in terms of capital to put towards tooling, so they need that money from the fans to try to get the figures out. I completely understand that, and I can sympathize. I really can. And when I was trying to explain like how we set up the waves in terms of the funding goals, it was very unique to a lot of people, and they didn't understand it. And what they didn't understand is I wasn't asking the fans to pay for everything. I was only asking them to pay for the variable cost of producing the wave. I wasn't asking for them to pay for the tooling. I'm paying for that myself. And the idea is that I'll make the money up on my own later. So that's how most businesses work. But for some reason in toy world, that's not the way they work, which is just weird to me. But like I said, it's weird to me. Doesn't mean it's wrong or anything in that nature. It's just not how I want to do things. So I will do my best to make things different. And that's why when I'm talking to the factory, it was all about how do I get these waves out in a shorter amount of time? Why does it take so long? Why do Kickstarters always miss their date? And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that, but sometimes the factory is the scapegoat because it's easy to kick them because they don't have a Facebook group. They don't have someone out there to say, no, that's not true. This person's lying. And so, to give you a great example of 2 Kickstarters that almost finished the same time that I'm aware of, one person had all their designs ready, finished, and the day after the Kickstarter dropped, they turned their 3D sculpts over to the factory to get ready for tooling. The other company finished theirs a week later. They didn't have their sculpts ready for another 8-9 months. So it's just, but no one will ever tell you that. Like that's sort of the difference and how things might end up. Okay. And so sometimes there's other issues. Sometimes things happen with the tooling factory, things like that. And there's a lot of different things that happen that go on that cause delays that are legitimate. But this whole reliance on the fan base to pay for everything up front, there's no risk for the company, for the business. And so if there's no risk, you get very stagnant and you don't take any risks and you don't try to force yourself to figure out what the fans really want because you're never at risk. So that unfortunately doesn't work in an ideal environment. And so when you put a lot of pressure on companies to produce or innovate, it's better for the fans. So the toy collectors will win out. So I'm hoping that we meet our production standpoints or production timeline. I think that will create an incentive for other companies to start doing it as well and thinking in advance. The other thing you run into is that tooling does take a little bit extra time. All right. So if something's already been tooled, yeah, you can issue a repaint a lot quicker than if you're doing through tooling. But the question is do you have the capital to make tooling that you don't use in the first wave? So if you're smart and you're really trying to capitalize on a fan base that's hungry for new things, then you would put in tooling in your first wave, or rather your first wave that you send to the factory for tooling that you don't utilize, that you surprise your fans with later. So that's something that we're working on. And if you're smart, you could divide your tooling up for wave 4 into wave 1, 2, and 3 of the tooling factory so that you can get it out quicker. So,
Attaboy.
But once again, you have to put your own money up front to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you,
I think
Rob.
that speaks a lot to you just being willing to put that money up front.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Well, thank you, Rob, for being open, honest, and shedding light. And not all heroes wear capes, but obviously, Rob, you're definitely a hero out there in the community, the toy community, man. I got to say. Well,
I'm somebody's hero. Pretty sure I'm some people's feeling too.
Omar right here just said, Rob is such a cool dude. Makes it easy to back this line. So there you go.
Well, yeah, just the transparency that Rob gives, and he's explaining everything, everything that he's learning as well as he knows, he's showing, and I think that's why a lot of people are really backing this line because Rob's telling the truth and he's really putting it out there, and he's put his own money out in this so that way this stuff could happen for all of us. And, he can further, future lines and stuff like that, and Rob, you have, and also the other thing, Rob has an incredible team behind him. He has a whole bunch of people that he can't name all at once. And he wants, and I know that I heard him in the other interview that, he wants to eventually, put those people out, so that way everybody can get to know them and what they're about as well. And I think that's great, man. You got a bunch of good people behind you, man.
They are incredibly talented, the whole lot of them, and they have just a deep breadth of experience that's really impressive. And the problem, we were going to do some articles, but then we quickly figured out that the guys hate talking about themselves and certainly don't want to write it out. So now we're just going to force them into little mini interviews on a YouTube channel to make them talk about themselves. And I guess I have to be the one to ask them questions because they don't want to tell anybody what they've been doing. So they are very, very humble. And I would just be amazed if I got to do some of the things that they've got to do. So, and they have an immensely diverse background. And I think on the other podcast, I was telling people that, it seems like I have all these great ideas, and that's really not fair. It's just that I have literally 24 people that I work with, and they all bring really great ideas. And so, it's kind of like this wonderful piece of art that Rubus did with Jaeger with his fish head. And it was, Rubus did that on a whim because he was excited. And everybody's now wanting this stupid fish head on a hook thing because it looks so awesome, right? And it's like, oh, that's genius. Yeah. And, before the end of it, people are going to think that we planned all this, and we didn't. That was just random fun that someone did something like, oh, that's a great idea. We should make that. And we will. And, that's just how it works sometimes. Sometimes you just get lucky. But when you have enough creative people that are that passionate about something, that are really enjoying what they're doing, that's when you get all these really great creative ideas. And so I want to encourage that. It's not one person behind the scene doing everything. It's literally the amalgamation of a lot of different people's ideas on what they want to see and what they would love to see coming to the top. So I think that's why it appeals to so many different people. It's not just one person's vision of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Definitely. So shout out to you and your team. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Let me see. So I was going to go ahead and end it. I mean, we're going close to 2 hours here, if that's okay with you guys, folks. Rob, I'm pretty sure that you're, tired for doing this podcasting circuit and whatnot. You got any shout outs that you want to give?
Personally, well, I really appreciate Spiro Toys. They produce A-Walk, Bobby Vala, Valaverse, Daker Bush of Almighty Legends, Ben over at the RoboSkull team. All 4 of those companies have actually backed Savage Crucible, so that tells you a lot about them. That's a really big deal when you see other companies. It says a lot about their character and the willingness to help out another creator. So a lot of those companies have been very forthcoming with information, just sharing ideas, talking shop, and the sort of this, the problems that we encounter and how to overcome them. So that's really special. My team in itself, all those guys, I love them to death. I talk to them all the time. I wish we could all talk together, but unfortunately we're spread out all over the world in different time zones. And the one time we tried it, we had to talk at like 3:30 in the morning for me, I think, or 4:30 in the morning for someone. So it didn't really work out that well. So we have to kind of split it up. And no, it's been a lot of fun. And I think that you guys are going to love what's to come. And I just encourage you to sit tight and, keep letting us know your ideas on what you want to see and what you like. And if you haven't figured it out from the Facebook group, we have no problems with anybody giving any kind of constructive feedback. Like we want to know. I hate yes men. I can't stand it. It doesn't help me grow. Or actually cringing at me right now because they're like, oh, I love that. And they're like, well, could you say something more besides I love it? And I'm like, yes, but I'm busy, so, but no, it's certainly, we realize that we're not going to make everyone happy. And so I hope that the fans realize that, we do, even if you say something and we don't change it, that they still were heard. We still listen to them and we're still considering it for something in the future, but it may not be in this very moment. So, but it is very important to always give positive and negative critiques of everything that we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Guys, let's go ahead. Heath, any shout outs or anything that you want to do before we go?
No, I just want to say thanks, Rob, for letting us talk to you. Gil, obviously, you listen to what I order every week, so thank you for having the confidence in me not to be a complete jackass here. And again, just been a pleasure.
No worries, bro. I always got you. And you're the one who put Rob on my radar, the whole entire Savage Crucible thing on my radar. So I had to bring you on. It's only right.
Awesome.
Christian, what about you, bud?
No, man, just thanks to Rob, man, for coming on, man. And I love what you're doing, man. And just keep doing it, man. You and your team have some great stuff going, man. And I love it, man. So just keep doing it. And shout out to Heath over there. I'm loving it too, man. I listen every week too, man.
Yeah. All right. And then as far as me, I'm your host, Gil. Make sure to follow me on all social media at Black Hole Comics and YouTube. I just put out a new action figure review today, so make sure to go check that out. Rob, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you giving us your time. And we're going to have to collab to put out a Gil werewolf action figure for the line for Wave 6. Wave 6. No,
Noted.
All right, guys. Till next time, make sure to stay geeked up and geek out. Later.
Peace.